Hey guys, welcome to Comic Convos. Today we're going to be talking about Jedi Fallen Order Dark Temple. But before I get into that, I'm going to talk about the video game a little bit first. In case you didn't know, Jedi Fallen Order is a video game made by EA. It's actually a really good game. I really enjoyed it. A lot of people had issues with it because there was problems with the combat system. It was very similar to Dark Souls, from what I've been told. I put it on the easier difficulty, so I didn't have to go through something like that. I just really wanted to play it for the storyline, and even then, putting it on the easiest difficulty, it was still kind of a challenge to get through. A lot of the puzzles were more mind-boggling than I expected them to be, but it was still a really fun game to go through. It was kind of like a puzzle game, but then there was some combat. There's some great storyline, some great Star Wars lore that you get in there. You actually go to Dathomir and meet up with the Night Sisters. Well, the only Night Sister that's left. You end up fighting a few of them, and you see the zombie Night Sisters. They kind of call down on you. You see the male Dathomirians that are running around, and just in case you guys didn't know, that's the same race that Darth Maul is. So it's kind of gives you an image in your head. But the game is just fantastic in the way that it tells its story of Cal Kestis going through and coming out of hiding, going back into being a Jedi, actually finding his own, lightsaber crystal for himself, and becoming that true Jedi towards the end of the game. Towards the end of the game, you see him not be a Padawan learner anymore, which is what you discover. He was a Padawan when Order 66 happened. He was a real young kid, and then kind of cut himself off from the Force, and then that's when the game starts after that, when he brings himself back to the Force, when he starts using his powers again, and kind of reveals himself, and the Empire finds out. And then eventually, you're going through the game, you meet up with people like Saw Gerrera, which if you don't know who that is, go watch, Rogue One. You'll find out who Saw Gerrera is. Or the Clone Wars or Rebels, because I believe he's in all of those. If I'm wrong, let me know, but I'm pretty sure he's in all of those. But yeah, you see him run around. He kind of meets up with a whole bunch of different people, and eventually at the end, of course, you see Darth Vader, and what you as a gamer would think would be an epic battle, he does exactly what he should have done, what anybody should do when they're caught in a situation where they're face to face with Darth Vader. He ran. You never try to fight Vader, unless you're Obi-Wan. But you never try to fight Vader. If you ever read the comics with Darth Vader in there, you'll see that he is just, Darth Vader's a beast. He will go through and just wreck everything. He will split your planet in half and not give it a second thought if it just tickles his fancy that day. So, and the fact that Anakin is so different from Darth Vader, if you know who Anakin is, you've seen him. He was a very lighthearted Jedi. He's just a very cool guy, just kind of doing his own thing. And then when, the events of Episode 3 happened, Order 66 and stuff, he just went straight dark. And it's kind of interesting to see the different person that he is, because they really are two different people. They are not really that similar to each other when you actually look at their characters and who they are, which make the fact that they are the same person makes it, really cool. Anyways, that's off subject. He's not really a part of Fallen Order. But today I'm going to read Fallen Order Dark Temple. It looks really good. It's a shorter comic, so I shouldn't take too long with this one. But I definitely like it because it's supposed to be a prelude to the video game. I've already played and beat the game, so this is kind of just like a flashback for me. But this guy right here, he's actually the one that kind of helps you go through your story in Fallen Order. And he's already dead by the time you get to it, but you find his droid. His droid gives you a whole bunch of holograms when you get to certain points, and gives you good talking points and a lot of lore and stuff like that. So I'm kind of excited to read this story. I am definitely gonna try my best to give you guys my best analysis of it, and I will be right back. So, chapter 1, you learn that I believe I'm trying to pronounce it right. It's always hard when you're reading these Star Wars names because they're spelt really weird. They're always pronounced real funny. But I believe her name is Seer Junda, something like that. She's actually one of the people in the game that she kind of takes the role of your master in the game. She kind of takes the role of Cal's mentor. But in chapter 1 of this, you see her be a Padawan with her master Cordova, which is again this guy, and she's kind of hot-headed. She kind of she kind of mirrors Anakin a little bit. So in this first chapter, you see her just kind of be hot-headed and run into the battle and run into action, getting into fights here, stopping these Trandoshans from fighting. And their Trandoshans are a very aggressive race, so they're just always at odds with each other. And in this one, they like stole credits and they were trying to say they didn't. And she was like, "Oh well, I'm just trying to keep you guys calm so we can figure out what happened." And she just gets all hot headed and ends up beating the living crap out of all of them, which is kind of funny. But then they go off into this forest that's full of the Force, and they're just like, "I can't use the Force. I can't sense anything." And it's not because I don't have a connection to the Force. It's just because the Force is everywhere right now. It's just we can't make sense of it. So that's kind of interesting. That's so far what's in chapter 1. They got kind of blown up at the end. I believe everybody's still alive, but nobody said anything. Let's move on to chapter 2. All right, so in chapter 2, what happens is, so at the end of chapter 1, like I said, there was a big explosion that happened. Apparently, they were ambushed. Master Cordova is missing, presumed dead. We don't know this yet. We don't know what happened to him. He's just like kind of missing. Nobody's seen him since this explosion happened. Well, Seer, this lady, she gets essentially she gets knocked out. And she thinks she's kidnapped. So when she wakes up, she immediately pulls her lightsaber out and just starts hacking away at this jail cell and is like freaking out. She's like, "Who are you guys? What are you doing? Why did you attack us? What is happening?" And it turns out that the people that attacked them were actually the people they were originally traveling with to go into this forest to try to find this temple. That's all she's trying to do. They're trying to find this temple so they can learn some knowledge. She ends up going back to this temple after she's done, like, kind of settles down, finds out that she was betrayed, goes back to this temple, tries to tell those council people that they're the ones that attacked. They don't believe her, and they end up trying to have her arrested. Well, she kind of fights her way out, and she goes back over to the village and tries and tells them, "Hey, we need to do something about this because you guys are the good guys. I know you guys are good. They're corrupt, so we need to figure something out." And she tries to call the Jedi Temple. It doesn't work out. And she's just kind of trying to figure out what to do without her master right now. She's just a Padawan at this point, so she doesn't really have a lot of direction. She doesn't have somebody there to mentor her and to tell her what to do and where to go. So we'll see where chapter 3 takes us. All right, so in reading chapter 3, you actually learn that Cordova is alive. What happens is Seer tries to go and attack the city and stuff, and she tries to attack the guy that she thought betrayed him. And he brings out Cordova, and all of a sudden, Cordova is just alive. And it's kind of cool because she's been fighting on the side of the Filari, however you pronounce that. And they're what's considered the terrorist to the, I have to remember how to pronounce it. I think it's on Thorns, something like that. These, like I said, these names are really difficult to pronounce. I'd rather just pronounce them in my head and let it be like that. Now that I have to say it back to you guys, I'm going to have to learn how to pronounce these correctly. But for now, just kind of, just let me do my thing. I'm sorry that these pronunciations are butchered. If you're a real Star Wars fan, please send me a link or send me a, comment on how to properly pronounce these words. But he's on the side of the big city. He was, injured and stuff, and they took care of him. She's on the side of the village, what is considered the terrorist group. So when they meet back up, they are actually they have a Jedi on both sides that are actually trying to make peace between the two. So it actually ends up working out really well. But they right now they just came in for peace. They're asking for 2 days of just peace. They'll come back and they'll talk more about what's going on and stuff. And they're just trying to get into this temple. That's all that Seer and Cordova are trying to do. They're trying to get into this ancient temple so they can learn all these secrets. And they're finding it really strange because this whole planet is just filled with the Force, like I mentioned in the previous chapter. It's just filled with the Force. They have no idea like why it's like that, but it's just the planet is just feeding off this Force energy. And I forgot to mention it before. There's this background story, like this kind of B story, where it flashes forward a few years and it shows an Inquisitor hunting them down and kind of going to all the places that they've been. So every chapter kind of starts like that. It starts with the Inquisitor running across something that they've done and then kind of flashing back to their activities there, which is really cool because this Inquisitor is actually the same one. I believe it's the second sister, sixth sister. I think it's second sister. That she's the one that hunts down Cal Kestis in the game. So she's the one that uncovers that he's a Jedi and stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and read on to chapter 4. I believe chapter 4 is the last chapter in this book. It is. I'm gonna go ahead and read on chapter 4, and then we'll finish this up. All right. So I was wrong about chapter 4 being the last one. There is a chapter 5 to this, but during chapter 4, we learn that they go into the temple that they've been looking for. They finally get in there. They kind of sneak in, and then the city sends in a whole bunch of guards to kind of attack them in this temple. And what's supposed to be happening, like I said, is there's supposed to be 2 days of truce. This is during that 2 days. They're supposed to just kind of be doing their own thing, but they send these guards in to attack Seer and Cordova. And of course, they defend themselves, but there's also a big old guardian there that is also attacking everybody. And now they're both fighting this guardian. Seer's trying to help everybody out. Her and Cordova get split up. And then they find each other. And when they do, they're trying to go and just talk it out. They're like, dude, what is happening? We need to go and like kind of figure out why you guys are attacking us. What is going on? We're trying to do this truce thing. And so they leave the temple, find out that these guys they just want war. That's all they want. They just want to start a war with the Falari people, and they want to just crush everything and kind of own the planet. And that's kind of where I'm sitting at right now in this book. So far, the war has started. Seer is going off and doing her own thing. She's really hot-headed character from what I've been reading so far. And in the game, you kind of don't really see that so much, but you see that she's in the game that she's like done some kind of redemption kind of thing. Like she's definitely a different person than she was. So I'm guessing chapter 5 is probably going to tell us more about that. But just want to let you guys know that I messed up and I said that chapter 4 was the last chapter. I overlooked chapter 5, so that's my bad. Let's move on to chapter 5. So, with chapter 5, you end up discovering that the villagers they want war. They don't care what goes on. They just, straight up, they just want war. It's just what they want. I don't know how else to explain it. No matter what goes on, no matter what Seer tried to do, the Falari just kept attacking and revolting. Like they even tried to make peace. She went over to the guy named Da. He's the leader of the city, and they they just straight up kill him. They murder him, and she's trying to make peace with him. She's sitting there trying to tell him like, hey, I'm gonna trust you. I'm gonna put my lightsaber away. Let's talk. Let's talk this out and figure out what to do. And he's down. He's like totally down for it. He's like, you know what? I'm sick of the fighting. My people have died. Let's try to call a truce with this. And as they walk out, he just gets wrecked. And then she's like, what are you guys doing? You're not supposed to be doing this. We're supposed to be, working on a truce. We're supposed to be friends. They're like, no, we want our way. We're going to do things our way. This is our temple. They're not allowed in it. You're not allowed in it. Screw you guys. We're doing our thing. And eventually they end up getting trapped in the temple. Well, Seer and Cordova get trapped in the temple after the Republic shows up. So Mace Windu shows up with a couple other Jedi and stuff. And Seer and Cordova get trapped by this weird energy field in the temple. And this field, they discover it's power that comes from the temple. It's this, I'm not sure if it's a technology, if it's a power. I'm pretty sure it's some sort of technology, but it's what's powering those weapons. That's why that kill that I just showed you guys, if I can find it again, that kill right there, that's not a normal blaster round. That's coming from their guns, and that's like all just, that's not a normal kind of gunshot. It looks like a big old taser round, like it's just shooting lightning out of there. But they have all this cool technology and all this better technology. And they're like, no, this temple is ours. We're going to do what we can with this, and we're going to use this technology to just take over the rest of the planet. The big city, that's moot. We're going to take that over. We're taking this whole planet back. And the Republic's like, no, 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 because we have deals with the big city. Big city is actually the good guys. You guys are the terrorist organization. we're gonna like take you guys out because you guys are just being reckless. You guys are just coming at us. And it goes through to her getting she actually becomes a Jedi Knight at the end. It's actually a really sweet story after they kind of resolve the war and finish all their fighting and stuff. She goes back to the temple, and it seems like they're gonna kick her out. She's worried that she's gonna be expelled from the Jedi Order, and Yoda's actually like, "No, dude, you're a Jedi Knight now. Congratulations, have fun." And then it flashes back to the end, like I said before. It has these it has the Inquisitor coming after her, and the last page shows her saying that she's going to go to what is it, Bogano. Again, I'm horrible at pronouncing these words, and that's actually the the planet that Cal is on, Cal Kestis. So it says to be continued in Jedi Fallen Order. So this is a direct prequel to Jedi Fallen Order, which again is just a really phenomenal game. And I kind of like the background of Seer. You don't really get a lot of her. She's kind of mysterious in the game. So seeing her background and seeing a lot of Cordova's kind of interest in being a scholar, because you see that a lot. You discover his holograms in these temples and stuff. So it was kind of cool seeing their backgrounds a little bit, seeing how that was all going. Seer is definitely, she's more of a hot-headed Jedi. Reading her story reminded me a lot of Anakin. Reminded me a lot of watching Anakin in the Clone Wars, which thanks to my buddy Ryan for pointing that out, the Clone Wars, and actually making me watch those because I avoided them for so long. But she's just a really hot-headed character, but she's still a Jedi. She still wants to do the right thing just because she's impulsive and kind of runs with her emotions. She's she's still a good person, and it's actually really cool because she's she kind of trains Cal. She kind of becomes his master in the game, and I think I mentioned that before. And you kind of see her struggle because she's cut herself off from the Force. In the game, you see that she was just completely tortured and stuff by the Inquisitors to get information to tell them where the other Jedi were. And I mean, sadly, eventually she gave in, but she was getting tortured. Like in a lot of people, it takes a lot to withstand torture. And since she was a Jedi, they tortured her a lot. So after she betrayed her fellow Jedi, she actually cut herself off from the Force and redeems herself later on in the game. She actually ends up taking up a lightsaber in her hand. It might have been an Inquisitor lightsaber, but it was still a lightsaber. She takes up a lightsaber and she ends up going and fighting with Cal. And I actually think she faced off with Vader while you're running away from him to kind of give you some time. And she survives at the end of the game. She doesn't die at the end of the game. So spoiler alert, she doesn't die. But she's a really cool character. I really liked her voice actor in the game too, and reading her story, it was really interesting thing to go ahead and see. But I do apologize. This video was a little bit longer. I love Star Wars. Obviously, I love everything about it. I have a whole bunch of pops over here that are Star Wars and stuff. So I can talk about Star Wars for days. But all in all, I would definitely suggest this book. It was definitely a good comic to read, and I suggest playing the game. Like I said, they have it on the EA Play now. I think they just did that like yesterday. But if you ever get the chance to get around to playing it, I definitely would. I definitely think that it's just a great game to play, and if you get the chance, if you play the game, definitely pick up the graphic novel so that way you guys can, see some background on it. But in case you guys don't, I think I've given you guys a good analysis of this comic. If I didn't, let me know what I could do better in the comments. If you guys want to see anything that, any other heroes or any other stories that you want to hear me review, definitely let me know. I'm more than happy to oblige with that. And I have a lot of comics. I'm pretty sure I have whatever hero you could want me to talk about, at least one story from them. So definitely thank you for your time, and I will see you next time.